Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast, The Little Filly Who Couldn't Be Broke. Today's topic is going to be a bit of a repeat topic, but I didn't see it on my list of titles and content that I'd already created. But I know I've talked to you guys about this before. I know this has been a topic that I've spoken about and I have brought up, and this is a reoccurring theme. I know that because this is the major theme ever. This is the reason. This is the whole point. This is really the whole point. So, really, I my business is called Soul to Soul Healing, and healing to me, spiritual healing to me, is the energy work that we do, right? So today's topic is actually about forgiveness. And I know I've spoken about forgiveness. And that's why I was looking back in my notes, looking back at the list of titles that I have, to make sure or to see if and when I had spoken to you guys about forgiveness. But I think it probably comes up in like every single, because it's the main topic. It's the thing. It's the point of the story. So I know I've kind of spoken about this before as well, but in my mind, this is a 3-step process. You can break down each step, into little baby steps or into little, like, kind of just like different experiences along that step. But it's really a 3-step process that keeps reoccurring over and over and over again. So the first part is awareness, and the first part is admitting that it, like, and acknowledging that it's even a thing. So if you don't think you're lying, cheating, stealing, smoking, bad habits, eating poorly, like swearing, if you don't think that these are bad things, you're not going to do anything to change them. You're just going to be like, well, that's just the way I am, and here we go, right? Like you're not going to step forward and find a new way to be. You're not going to exercise more. You're not going to get off the couch. You're not going to quit watching, the scary or the poor choice of shows that you watch. If you don't think they're a poor choice of show, and you know what, maybe they're not. Maybe for some reason, or for some people, the poor choice of show it's not bad for one person, but it is bad for another. But if you don't acknowledge, if you aren't aware of, if you don't even admit to it, there being a problem, that's step number one. Like, nothing's going to change if you don't admit to and acknowledge that there is a problem in the first place. That whatever habit that you hold is not serving you. And that might be, and I mentioned a bunch of physical things, but that might be the poor habits of holding on to anxiety, holding on to fear, holding on to, like, playing small. That might be holding on to emotions or belief systems, kind of those things as well. And believing in, I want to say, like, poor choice of belief systems. But believing in limiting belief systems that are holding you back, and they so, and this first piece isn't to make you feel wrong or bad or small. That's not it. Let me say that this is just your jumping off point for change. Something is going on, and you don't like that it's going on. It is wreaking havoc in your life. So your health might be off, but you're not willing to exercise more, eat properly, or drink water rather than beer or alcohol, or, and those energy drinks, or pop or sugarized drinks, or anything, right? You're not willing to change, but something's off. So when something's off in your life, you can feel it's off. It's not serving you. And so something, let's just take, I want to use smoking. I don't smoke. I've never smoked in my life, but I want to use this as an example. Is that if you don't acknowledge that it is not serving you anymore, if you don't acknowledge that that is the problem, where I was going with this is because there was a point in your life where you chose to pick up that smoke and smoke the first one, and right there was a point in your life where you chose to do that because it was serving you. It served a purpose in your life. Now, if you continue that habit, now I'm not saying it served a good purpose, but maybe it served to calm your anxiety or something, right? Maybe you went through a very traumatic space in your life and you're just like, yep, I need something in this moment. And that's what was there to serve that purpose. Now, it served that purpose, but it's probably not continuing to serve you going forward. So there might be a time going forward where you're just like, I don't want to smoke anymore. This isn't serving me. This is causing bad habits. I can't breathe. I can't, exercise very well. It's not going well in other areas of my life. And I just, it's stopping me from moving forward. It's stopping me from growing. It's stopping me. And smoking, it's not the only thing. There's a million things in your life that could do this. I've never smoked in my life, and yet I found the path to transformation, right? Okay, so the first thing is that awareness piece, right? The first piece is acknowledging it, and honestly, it's not shameful. Like I said, it's like it just is a thing. It was a thing yesterday. And I'm now choosing to make it not a thing tomorrow, right? Or even today. I'm choosing not to drink the sugary drinks today. I'm choosing that, and I'll choose that again tomorrow, and I'll choose that again the next day. So what happens is we acknowledge it, okay? Now, if I haven't mentioned it yet, I think I have. Today's topic is forgiveness. So I'm pretty sure I did mention that. I was beating around the bush a little bit there. But today's topic is on forgiveness, because forgiveness is the point. It's the point. It's step number 2. And it takes us from awareness, and then the forgiveness, or the letting go, or the releasing, the healing of the situation is step number 2. This is the crux of the whole mountain. And so we're right at the top, and this is the work that we need to do. This is what we need to move and get through. And then going down the other side, getting to the place that we want to get to. So we're here and we want to get to here, but we need to go through this journey, right, to get there, right? Okay, so we want to be healthy, but we're doing all these unhealthy things. We want to be confident, we want to be strong, we want to be a good leader, but we're stuck over here in fear and lack of self-worth and lack of confidence, right? We want to have a lot of money, we want to be big, like wealthy people, but we're over here and we don't have good money management skills. We don't have good, again, back to that worthiness, right? We don't feel worthy of having the money, etc., etc. We don't feel like enough. And so we have these limiting beliefs. Or we want to have this beautiful, loving relationship, and we really want it to flourish, and we want these amazing things in our relationships. But yet here we are stuck over here, and we don't feel lovable, and we don't feel good enough, and we don't feel worthy of the relationship. And so we need to figure out, we're over here, and we want to get over here, and we need to do the work in the middle, okay? So the forgiveness is the piece. And even forgiveness comes in everywhere. Now, there is other ways of clearing and cord cutting, and I actually thought maybe next week or in a future podcast, I will start talking about some of that stuff, because that stuff, there is space and places for that. But 80% of the work that I have ever done for myself and leading others to this place is actually a place of forgiveness. And if it's not forgiving someone else, which a lot of times it is, let's say 50% of the time it is, the other 50% of the time is forgiving ourselves. Okay, so we cannot forget to forgive ourselves. We can't let that slip by. We need to let ourselves off the hook. We need to understand that not getting off the couch and not running that 5K served us, right? Or yeah, that 5 kilometers or 5 miles or whatever it is that your 10 mile run or whatever that it is that you're wanting to get more exercise, you're wanting to get off your butt, you're wanting to get out there, you're wanting to run these marathons or even just go for a brisk walk. You want to do it and yet you can't get your butt off the couch. You can't stop eating those brownies because I know I've been there. I don't need to run a 5K, but I don't need to eat all the brownies because there's something. So instead of shaming ourselves for eating the brownies, instead of shaming ourselves for not getting off the couch, I mean, there is a place of just doing it. So finding the courage and just doing it. But you know what you're going to find is that when you just do it, there's still something blocking you. There's still something coming up. There's still something going on. So what we need to do is find that place within ourselves. What is coming up? What's going on? What is in the way? What's blocking us? What's shaking in our world? What are we thinking about this? What are we thinking about ourselves? How do we feel about it? Is anger coming up? Is shame coming up? Is grief coming up? Right? Blame, guilt. Do we feel guilty? We need to let ourselves off the hook. Right? Okay. So when we start to dig in, now this is when I would tell you grab a journal, or if we're doing the energy work, we would be relaxing into, meditating into. So you can also just grab, some beautiful music, light some candles, incense, whatever you got to do. Grab a blanket and a pillow, and jump into your meditation. And just do the inner work. So go inward. Go inward with either a pen or paper, or go inward with some beautiful music playing in the background. And find that place. Ask yourself all the questions inward. Find that place of what's going on, what's coming up, and really sit with it. Where did this come from? What am I feeling? And where did this come from? Like, when did I first start feeling this? And it might be yesterday, but majority of the time it's like, I started feeling this in childhood. I started feeling this as a young adult. I felt this in my first my love relationship. But it might even actually go beyond that, to past lives. I've definitely gone into past lives for myself and for others. And to heal that space of, this is just something I was born with because I have experienced it before. And it's just kind of the personality that, and even if it was the personality you were born with, or the soul that came out, that was birthed into this world, that doesn't mean you can't clear it now. It came up, it's coming up in this lifetime to be healed if you are noticing it and if it is something that you are trying to work through. Okay, so we can heal it. We definitely can heal it. So we just kind of go back to, where did this start? What's coming up for you? What thoughts are you thinking? What are you feeling? And just start writing those things down, right? Is there any specific other people involved in this situation with you? So was it like, one of my classmates in elementary school, in grade 3, in kindergarten, whatever. They said this to me, they did this to me, like I was very vulnerable at that point, just a little kid. And someone said something harsh to me or hurtful to me. And now if you're 35, you need to let that go. Because if you don't let that go and that wasn't to be like mean or rude, but I'm saying that because if you're 35 or if you are 65 or if you're 55, it doesn't matter. If you're 72, it doesn't matter. And you're still holding on to some feelings that someone in kindergarten or someone in grade 3 spoke to you, you are giving away your power to that situation, and you are still recreating. So you're still believing the kid that said something to you in grade 3 that you weren't good enough, or maybe it was a teacher, or maybe it was a parent, or maybe it was a sibling, or maybe it was your best friend, or maybe it was your neighbor. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who it was or what age you were at. But if there's another person in the situation with you, this is where forgiveness comes in. Okay? So if you're still with me, if we're walking through this together, this is where forgiveness comes in. This is where we sit down in our meditation or with our journal, but on the inside, and we ask ourselves, what were they going through? What were they going through that made them say something or do something or act in a very hurtful way? What were they going through that made them act in a very hurtful way? And if we can start to understand, if we can have empathy and compassion for that person, I find it a lot easier, but it's getting easier and easier. So I find it a lot easier to forgive those people that happened in grade school, that happened to young adults, like I'm 40. So it's the last, the last couple years, the situations I'm still in, I find harder to navigate because I forgive and I feel like I'm forgiving and forgiving and forgiving, and then that's not really leading to. So maybe different steps need to be taken there, but I will get to the next part. But I find if I'm not really in the same, even if it's like my best friend from childhood, and something they said in grade 3, but we're still best friends now and we still continue to talk. So I'm still in a relationship with them, but I'm not the grade 3 person that I was back then. I'm now an adult, right? I'm now in a different place and space in my life. That also gives me or grants me that same perception that my best friend is not that same person that she was in grade 3. She was only, I'm not even sure, 9, 12 years old. I'm not sure. 10. How old you are in grade 3, but she's not that person anymore, right? She's grown, she's learned, she's matured, right? Or he. And so there's space. I feel like there's space to find forgiveness. There's space to allow for forgiveness. So if we just find that place within us and we really understand where they're coming from and we forgive them, the next step in this process is forgiving ourselves. So can you forgive that person that you were back in grade 3? Can you forgive your teacher? Can you forgive your parent? Can you forgive your sibling? Can you forgive your neighbor? Right? Can you just let it all go? Whatever's coming up, for this particular instance, someone called you fat and lazy. So now you're just sitting on the couch and not running that 5K, right? Can you forgive them? Can you understand where they're coming from? Can you understand that that was their negative belief system, that they spoke to you and it had nothing to do with you and you weren't really lazy? They saw you through their lens. They felt lazy. They probably had someone call them lazy, right? And even if they didn't look lazy, because sometimes it's like, okay, someone called them lazy, but they're not really lazy, but that got them to work that much harder, right? So now they're a workaholic. Well, that's not what we want either. So either, like, it can go to either extreme. You can kind of snowball backwards, or you can be too much or too little, right? And you're still not in that work balance, productive balance, because you have some kind of, just going off of this example, limiting belief system about your work ethic, right? Being lazy or working too hard or not working, right? Like, so that's just one example of a million examples out there, right? Or you feel poor. You feel like you're not good enough. You feel less than because those people had money and you didn't. And now you're shaming yourself and you're walking in that space of you're not good enough. Well, let me tell you something right now. You, my friend, are more than good enough in any way. This isn't just to do about now the money example. You are good enough to do whatever it is that you want to do in this world. You are a child of God. You are made for your soul, for your dreams, for your purpose, and your love and your kindness and your compassion and your joy. I want to serve people. I want to take them out of their fears and their anxieties, and I want to get them not just off the couch, but I want to get them stepping into who they really are, because you are good enough. You are good enough right now who you are. All that needs to happen is you just need to change that limiting belief system, and you need to understand that you are good enough. You need to understand that you are worthy enough to be exactly who you're meant to be, regardless of what anyone else thinks, right? Okay, so going back, we are we're walking through the steps of forgiveness, right? Forgiving anyone else in the situation with you, anyone else. We've gone back to, so like you're here today, whatever age, whatever situation you're in, what's coming up for you today. And it's this feeling that's coming up for you today that we are going to walk back. Where did it come from? What's going on? What's coming up for you? And so we're walking back, and then we're forgiving those people, and we're also forgiving ourselves, because we aren't that same person that showed up back then. We aren't that same 3-year-old or grade 3 or 13-year-old or 23-year-old. We're not. We're not that same person, and we've grown, and we're growing today in this moment. Okay, so this moment is going to take us farther down the line. This moment is this moment for growth. This moment. So we need to. If your answer, you're going through this process and you say, can I forgive them? And your answer is no, you have more work to do. If you're going through this process and you forgive them, but you cannot forgive yourself, you have more work to do. You need to be able to find that place within yourself that feels the forgiveness, that understands, has compassion for the situation that happened, and can continue to move through what has happened to you in the past in your life. Okay? Because being angry at that person in grade 6 served you. It served you. Let's just say that person said something mean, said something negative, said something rude, and you being angry at them served a purpose for you to maybe put some space between you or change or shift the relationship that you were in with that person, and that's fine. But to still hold on to the anger when you're 55 of what somebody did to you in grade 6 or when you're 13 years old is not serving you anymore. Does that make sense? Okay. So you've forgiven them. You've found the compassion and the empathy. You've forgiven yourself. You've found the compassion and empathy. Okay? Oh, that feels so good. That feels so good to be able to get to that place. Okay, we're still moving through this. So from there, I want you to recreate what you would have liked to happen. I want you to kind of recreate that situation and say, how would I want to feel in that situation? Would I want to have felt trusted? Would I want to have been respected? Would I want to have felt loving kindness? Would I want to have had more of a joyful experience rather than a harsh experience, right? Would I want to be like, even if someone, let's say like a teacher was giving some constructive criticism or, saying something poorly about us, instead of us taking it the wrong way, I would have rather them spoke up in a different way. I would have rather them use different words. or something like that. So I want you to recreate the experience. I want you to set the tone of how you want that experience to have gone. Because if you reimagine the experience, there is spirit in this room. I just saw something float by and I'm like, okay, here we go. Who's here with me? If you recreate that experience to acknowledge that people can treat you with respect or treat you with trust or treat you with kindness or treat you with joy or treat you with love or treat you with empathy or treat you, in a kind manner, instead of you holding on to that anger, which you've now let go, or that shame or that blame or whatever it is that we are recreating, I want you to, from this day forward, this is the day that we're doing the healing, right? This is the day that we are shifting through this work. So I want you to, yes, recreate it. And the reason I want you to recreate that is because from this day forward, instead of you taking anger to those situations, if someone calls you fat, someone calls you lazy, or you take your shame to the kitchen, and every time you take a drink or take a food that you don't want to eat or something like that, instead of you shaming yourself, I want you to recreate that situation and reframe that for yourself. So from this day forward, it can show up differently. It will show up differently for you. Does that make sense? That from this day forward, we are reframing that. We're recreating that experience for you. So it will start to move forward in a new pattern, in a new way. Okay. Now, what happens and what we need to do is, I'm just getting glare on my, it's probably not glaring for you, but these windows are glaring for me and it's very hard for me to see the monitor and stuff. So don't mind me. I have a new computer and all of this stuff and I'm trying to figure out my system, but don't mind me. I'm just playing around. Or I'm just trying to figure it out for the first time. But I am still, I'm still hot on this topic. Okay, so from there, what we need to do, because once we've recreated this in our mind, once we've recreated this either in our journaling or our mental capacity, our mental space, visualization and meditation, we need to take this energy work and we need to embody it. Okay, so what I want you to do is feel those feelings. I want you to really sit with that experience that you've recreated. And I want you to just kind of imagine if there was some kind of light shone on this, right? So now we're in this pink, it made everything feel pink, or made everything feel yellow, like sunshine yellow, or it made everything feel beautiful blue sky or blue water, right? What space is coming up for you, right? I love to use, but every time I do this, it's something different. But I love to use sparkles, right? Shimmering sparkles, and just embody it. So I want you to take this color and just this feeling. All I need you to do is embody this feeling in your body. Embody the feeling of the forgiveness, embody the feeling of the letting go, embody the feeling of the new recreated story. That's what needs to happen as the final step, is that we need to embody it. So we need to walk forward in this place, right? From this place, from the place of respect, from the place of forgiveness, from the place of joy, from the place of love, from the place of kindness, right? Okay, so I talked about step one. No. I'm sorry for the podcasters that are listening to the audio. I keep shifting around and I keep doing things with my computer, and I just think people watching this video is going to think this is an uncomfortable topic or something, but no, I'm just trying to readjust to my camera and stuff. But anyways, We talked about step one, which was the awareness and the acknowledgement and the courage to move forward. We talked about step two, which was forgiveness and letting go and moving through. Okay, we'll talk about step three, but I also want to add in here a small little piece, and this piece, it's it's forgiveness, step two and step three combined. So step three is just going forward. So once you've done this, you just kind of stand up from your meditation, stand up from your journaling. Okay, I had this perspective and now I have this perspective, right? That's fine. And you've embodied it. Now you just go forward with it, right? You just start living your life and you just start to notice. You start to notice how things have changed from this new perspective, from the new vibration that you're at, from the new thought patterns, from releasing the emotional baggage of whatever it is that you were holding on to. But the ones I've spoke about are things like anger and shame and blame and guilt and whatnot, right? Okay. So I want to talk about, before I get all the way through, but essentially the last piece is very simple. You start to show up differently. You start to vibrate in a different space. You have changed. You have shifted. You have gone forward. Before I get too far into that, there's on the way down, as I mentioned before, it's easier, well, it's especially easier for me, but I'm guessing it's easier for a majority of people to really heal things that have happened years and years and years ago. I mean, even then, people have a really hard time. You know, so-and-so cheated on me 25 years ago, and I can't let them off the hook. There's no way I can let them off the hook. I think you probably can, right? I think you probably can. Time is over. That time is over. That situation is over. And so even if it's hard for people to, that work needs to be done, okay? So I'm just going to ask you to have the courage to do it. But what I wanted to speak about was something that might have happened today, something that might have happened yesterday, something that might have happened last week, something that might have happened in the last few years, like I was speaking about, those situations that we're still in, the situations that are present for us right now. Now, a lot of times you can take that and be like, yeah, that happened because of way back when. But sometimes the way back when happened just in that moment, right? Something might not, like we might have been the most spunky, like little kid running around jumping in mud puddles, and someone said, you know, you smarten up. And then all of a sudden we weren't the spunky kid that jumped in mud puddles, right? Like because we were shamed for it or whatever the case, right? We were made to feel wrong or bad or whatever. And so then we stopped doing it. So that moment changed the trajectory of our future moments, right? So what I'm talking about is we might not have had anything happen until now. This might have been the situation that you are dealing with right now, okay? But if you're doing this work, if you're in this space, somebody might say something to you. Somebody might do something to you. You know, somebody might show up for you in a certain way, and you're just like, I was like this, and now I'm like this because I have this experience. Even if this experience happened yesterday, and you're in the middle of doing this work, like you are aware of this, there's no need to, what I'm saying is there's no need to hold on to it for 25 years before we can let it go, right? There's no need to hold on to it for 56 years before we can let it go. Honestly, if something happened to you 3 minutes ago, you can let it go in this moment. Something happened to you a moment ago, you can let it go in this moment. If something happened to you a week ago, you can let it go in this moment. Okay? Okay. So I need you to know that this is ongoing work, that this is something that we continuously do, and this is something that we're continuously looking at. All right. So, but there might be a space There might be a space where something happened to you and you might have to get angry. You don't probably have to feel the shame or the guilt, but there might be a grieving process. There might be a process that you need to work through if someone lied to you, or someone called you a name, or someone, bullied you in some way, or someone shamed you in some way. There might be a process that you need to work through. So you also have to give yourself some time. But no, there's no certain amount of time. There's like, I have to give myself a week. No, you can let this go. And your process might happen moment to moment to moment, right? Like it might be like, okay, that happened to me yesterday and I can for sure let it go today, right? Like I can just be done with it and I can be okay with it. And then something bigger might have happened that might take a month, might take a year, might take 3 years to process it and move through it and get to the bottom of it. And that's fine. And we just continue to do the work, right? So you might have to give yourself the time and space to move through and to heal and to understand all of the underlying emotions and everything that happened. And that's fine too. Okay. So all that being said, we are on step 3. And step 3 is really the going forward with it. Now, from this place, let's just say I've already done the work or I just done the work, right? Like, so I became aware something was happening and I went into meditation or went into journaling, did my spiritual work, and I moved through forgiveness and I moved through the emotions and I moved through the situation that was coming up for me and what was happening for me. And now I'm going to go forward in a different way. From that place, you will start to feel and sense and understand, like different opportunities start to come to you. People start to react different to you. So your relationships start to change and shift, right? So sometimes you might feel the urge to, I just want to make sure this isn't getting too long either. I just have a few minutes left. I want to make sure that you understand that doing this work, it's miraculous. It's miraculous. But it's going to change and it's going to shift, and that's what you wanted, right? That's what you wanted. But it also might mean that it's time to move on from that job. It's time to shift that relationship. It's time to let go of that best friend. It's time to step up, step into. It's time to find the courage. But if you're not holding on to that pattern anymore, holding on to that belief system, I actually find it quite easy to step up and step into that courage, because it's something that's coming up anyways, meaning like I don't want to run a 5K, but if that was you and wanted to run a 5K, you would have the inclination, you would have the inspiration to do it with inside of you. You already have that inspiration to do it. You just needed to remove the block to be able to do so, right? You already have the inclination to eat healthy. You already have the inclination to do the work. You already have the inclination to make yourself better. So doing the mental work, doing the forgiveness, doing all of this unconditioning work, unconditioning these patterns, letting go of these emotions and these belief systems of things that happened either yesterday or 12 years ago or 100 years ago, doesn't matter. Oh, a piece I forgot really, really quickly. I talked about past life. Something else that you'll also find coming up, and I just didn't mean to skip over this. I thought about it at the time and I was talking about that and I just moved forward into the next piece, but it's ancestral healing, and I can't believe I forgot to speak about that. But I put those kind of on there's also 3 places that I find stuff happen in this lifetime, right? It's just something that happened to me in this lifetime, and this is just my experience, and it's coming up in this lifetime, something I experienced and something I need to heal. The other one that I spoke about was past lives, so it's something that our soul came into this life with. And another one that, or the other one that I'm speaking about now is ancestral healing. So it's something that got passed down through your ancestors, through your parents' experiences. So it can you can experience it in this lifetime from your parents, or it's just an energy you picked up in the household, right? Okay, like a DNA, like an energetic blueprint. Okay. I think I got to the end. I love having these chats with you because the end is we just walk forward. We just go forward and things start to shift. And we need to have that courage. I want to keep this below 45 minutes, and it's at 40 minutes. So I'm rushing a little bit, but I got to the end. I spoke to you about the first piece of the awareness, the second piece about forgiveness and moving through and healing. And the third piece is the super simple piece of going forward. But as we go forward, we need to find that courage to step up and step into that newness of that person that we're showing up as now with the new energy. But like I said, I find it really easy because that energy has shifted, and so it's just the new normal. It's just new normal, and that courage and that inspiration is just there for you. Okay, that is my 3-step process to healing and forgiveness and all that stuff. But I'm going to let you guys go today, and I'm going to make notes for next time. I will see you on the next podcast.